Hello and welcome to this year's highlights from Nanotechweb. If, like me, the wintry germs are starting to catch up with you, now is your time to look back on all that's been achieved and think, well, it was worth it. Before we move on to some of the exciting developments and episodes from the year, here's a few words from Belle Dumé, our stellar science journalist, who we've all enjoyed reading from over this year and many others.
I'm Belle Dumé, contributing editor to the website. It's been another very exciting year again for nanotechnology, with extraordinary breakthroughs in so many different fields, proving once again how interdisciplinary nanotech is. Thank you again to all the scientists we interviewed this year, and to all our readers and supporters. It's now over to editor Anna Deming, who has all the details about the highlights, as well as news about our new website launching next year.
Thank you, Belle. And yes, it's been another exciting year with celebrations of the 30th anniversary of the Nobel Prize for Scanning Tunneling Microscopy and the first paper in atomic force microscopy, two technologies that really launched the field of nanotechnology just a few years before the journal Nanotechnology launched in 1990. As well as a discussion webinar with leaders of the field. If you missed it, you can listen again. A Pinterest picture poll, and a focus collection in the main journal with guest editors Johannes Barth at the Technical University of Munich, Franz Giesebel at the University of Regensburg, and Rodolfo Miranda at IMDA Nanoscience Institute in Madrid. We are some of the pioneers in the field. What have been seminal milestones in the technology for them over the past 30 years in our web movie series.
I was attending the European Biophysical Society Congress in Bristol in 1984 and had gone to the X-ray microscopy session to see how far they'd got along with that. As I came out of the session, I walked over to the next session in the watershed in Bristol with a chap from Switzerland, and to make small talk I asked him what he did, and he told me about this new microscopy technique involving bringing a sharp probe very close to the surface and measuring the quantum mechanical tunneling current between the probe and the sample. And I thought, it's going to be really hard to keep that mechanical stability. You need an angstrom or two separation, and as you scan over the surface, how are you going to maintain that? So I thought, that's not really going to be a starter. But I went back and checked his papers, and sure enough, he'd managed to get atomic resolution. Of course, that was Hani Röhrer, who, together with Gerd Binnig, were awarded the Nobel Prize in 1986 for the invention of the scanning tunneling microscope.
And we took a trip to Basel, home of Christoph Gerber, co-inventor of the atomic force microscope, to hear more about where the field had come from and some of the developments at the very cutting edge of current research.
They undergo a process called mitotic cell rounding, where they round up, eventually segregate the chromosomes and divide into.
There have been more developments in sensing, including the demonstration of a graphene patch that detects glucose in sweat. And a great deal to report in biology and medicine in general, such as the invention of quantum dot barcodes for diagnosing disease, and polymeric nanoparticles that deliver anti-inflammatory proteins in patients with high-risk cardiovascular disease. We attended the Nano World Cancer Day at the start of the year, where people working in oncology and nanotechnology from clinics, companies and academia shared some of the progress they have made, as well as looking at the main challenges for future work. Electronics has been taking inspiration from biology as well, with lots to report in work on neuromorphic computers, with improvements in the development of memristors that behave as synapses. On IBM and EPFL, researchers have developed a spiking neural network computing architecture using phase change memristors that mimic both the synapses and neurons in the neural system for the first time. It also demonstrates enhanced pattern and correlation distinguishing capabilities using a level tuning mechanism similar to that found in the ear. Naturally, records continue to be broken in conventional electronics too, if you can call that conventional. More from graphene, as the wonder material shows real potential for enabling meter-sized flexible displays that aren't prone to the dimming observed in other materials and show other advantages as well. We've had a focus on supercapacitors for energy in the main journal, and we took the opportunity to look in depth at the state of play of this technology on Nanotechweb as well. Still on the theme of energy, perovskite solar cells continue to break records. And we hear of a hybrid self-charging power textile system that can be sewn into clothes and harvest both solar energy and the mechanical energy from a person's movements. It's now 20 years since nanotechnology published work by Daryl Renneker and Iksu Chun on the then novel adoption of electrospinning for nanofibers, a fabrication approach that has shown great potential in medical drug delivery, nerve regeneration, sensing, and energy applications since. Of course, when it comes to spinning fibers with extraordinary properties, the spider is probably king. And we spoke to Marcus Buehler and researchers at MIT to find out what gives spider webs their extraordinary properties.
I got really interested in silk because of its strength. So the individuals, actually, if you take a thread here, and even though if you touch it, it seems very weak, but it's also very thin. Mm-hmm. And if you normalize by the cross-sectional area, you find that it's actually really strong material, up to strength of gigapascal.
A lot of it comes down to the hierarchical structures at the level of molecules, proteins, fibres, and the webs themselves. More on hierarchical nanostructures in the next year's Focus collection. It's been a good year for business in the world of nanotechnology for enterprises both large and smaller, and a great year for Nobel Awards for work connected at the nanoscale, such as the Physics Prize, going to work on topological phase transitions, which has had fascinating implications for 2D materials, and of course the Chemistry Prize going towards nanomachines. We've had our own awards to announce, too, with Jae-hyun Lee at Harvard winning the first ever Nanotechnology Young Researcher Award at the start of the year. Listen out in January to hear who will be his successor. And talking of IOP publishing journals, 2016 saw the launch of Nano Futures, a new high-impact multidisciplinary journal that will be positioned through an editorial policy geared strictly to capturing groundbreaking, future-oriented research with long-term influence for nanoscience. Nano Futures shares much the same board of editors as the journal Nanotechnology and will be taking submissions from January 2017. Well, that's 2016 almost wrapped up. Naturally, it doesn't end there. We're already planning a big focus on the life cycle of nanomaterials, not just where they end up, but what they end up as well as quantum information processing and much, much more. In fact, if you thought you heard Elle hint at changes to their website coming up, your senses have not deceived you. We are undergoing a radical redesign that will bring you your favourite news stories on a new platform that will make it easier to navigate and to hone in on what you're interested in. And it doesn't just stop there. The scope is expanding across the whole of material science, and we're working with writers in the research community to really make sure you have your finger on the pulse better than ever before. Well, that's all to look forward to in 2017. But for now, from Belle,
I wish you a very happy Christmas and a happy, peaceful, successful New Year 2017.
And from all of us at Nanotechweb, Happy New Year!